Hey, everybody. Welcome to the AI for PI Index Companion Podcast. I'm here again with Bill Wilson, the one and only, who is the brains behind the index and also the lead developer, just so happens to be. So you wear many hats, Bill, huh?
Yeah. Too many.
Too many hats, yeah. Well, Bill's a pricing expert, but he's been in development for a long time. So this is right in your wheelhouse, like creating
Absolutely.
solutions.
Yep.
And this one is awesome. For this week, we're going to keep it, should be pretty short. We're going to go right into the index itself. I'm going to share it, and then we can just go down and talk about, see what pops out at us. This week, the typical visibility was 1.5%. Typical visibility median across firm market pairs. The leader share of voice is Morgan & Morgan at 15.4%. That is nationwide, so that's their combined visibility in all markets covered here, 250 U.S. markets plus Washington, D.C. The citation share, which is the number of times their site was cited in an answer, is 9.5%. Markets covered, 250 plus D.C., 1,894 firms tracked. And the top mover is Buhoff Law, PA, which moved up 8 spots from number 57 to number 49. The top 25 most AI visible firms, PI firms in America, Morgan & Morgan leads the way with 7.37%. Their top market is Kissimmee in their backyard, which is something, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, this is something that we see, which is people tend to dominate first where they're centrally located or where they're headquartered.
Yeah, typically it's what we see. I mean, you have firms like these top three here, which are national firms, and they start showing up everywhere. And so from a national perspective, the people who care about the national ranking are those people who are in the national space. But yeah, that's correct. People tend to rank fairly high visibility-wise in their market. And I think, well, we'll see later on, but I think one of the largest is like probably in the 70s or 80s.
In the single market, right?
In the single market, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I think there was one place in Pennsylvania and another which are sort of the highest, and then it goes straight down from there in terms of visibility across any markets. So if you're a personal injury attorney and you want to get into the details, into the weeds with us, we'll gladly show you this index and walk you around. Like, for example, if you're interested in a particular firm in the index, and we could just double click on it and look at where they're winning. Like, for example, Morgan & Morgan, Kissimmee, and these, by the way, say that 4 out of 4 weeks in a row they've appeared at this amount or near it in Kissimmee, Florida. Bowling Green, Daytona Beach, so a bunch of Florida locations, again, where their headquarters are, where they started, and then outward from there. A ton of markets that they're in, but most of them are in the single digits, right? Like the top, I would say 20 or so are in double digits, and then it goes down to
it's quite a long tail.
1 out of 4 weeks, like every once in a while, in a place like Virginia Beach.
Yep. Yeah, there's a pretty long tail on a lot of them, especially on the national side.
And then if you look at, I just want to go to, let's say, like somebody in the top 5. As you can see, Morgan & Morgan has a 7.37 visibility, and that's what, triple the next person, essentially?
Yeah.
Triple Ben Crump Law nationally. So if we go to, let's say, Cooper Hurley Injury Lawyers in Norfolk, Virginia, their best market is Chesapeake, and they have a 70% share there, where they're mentioned 70% of the time. Nationally, it's only 1.78, but they're dominating their local market. They're dominating 3 different places in Virginia: Chesapeake, Norfolk, and Hampton, which is really what you want. I mean, if you're attracting clients from one place and you absolutely dominate those local areas, it puts them at number 4 overall nationally.
Nationally, yeah. Even though they're only really showing up hard in this one state.
Yeah, exactly right. In Virginia, so this is cool too. Citation footprint named in 22 markets, cited in 9 markets. So they're getting named more than they are cited. Which Bill, if you want to just explain what that means briefly.
Sometimes the engines, when they go off and get an answer, they'll search the web, they'll use a bunch of sources, and they will then reference those sources that they use, and that would be what we call a citation. So if their website was used as as part of the search they were doing, then it would get a citation. But sometimes they show up just through the AI's own knowledge, and it just shows up inside the answer. And so that is, ideally what you want to have. You want to have both, right? You want to be mentioned and you want to be cited. But being mentioned, and then the real one is being mentioned with a link in the body, which we don't measure right now, but that's a whole other ballgame. But yeah,
cool.
Being mentioned is a big one. Yeah. And then of course the citations of, where did this information come from? Like, so people can understand where it comes from. And so what that means to me is that there's probably a lot of great content from these guys that is actually getting referenced when people ask questions about being injured, and what they should do. They are getting referenced. And I think that's the key. I think more of that is what people need to be doing for sure. Yeah.
So seen as the authority, and their website's getting cited and they're getting mentioned as the one to call or to contact as a possible attorney for you. Cool. 100%. Yeah, go ahead, Bill. Do you have something to say?
Nope. Just agreeing. 100%.
And then on, the most cited websites are still directories. Nothing has changed there. I think we'll get into that a little bit down further in the index. Is that right?
Potentially.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if it was on this view or if it was in our data.
It's in the corpus report. Yeah.
Got it. So the top 8 or so cited websites on the internet are legal directories, all for personal injury related prompts. And then the first website or actual law firm website that cracks the top 10 at number 9 is Morgan & Morgan, who we believe might be even looked at as a directory since they're in every market and they kind of mimic a directory in that way that they're covering almost every market in the country. Okay, let's keep going. These are the top 25, all the way down to Backus and Schenker, top 25 in the nation. Christensen Law out of Michigan. I know those guys are at 23 in the top 25. Herman and Herman, when we were at the last PILMA conference, they had just cracked number 25, so they're going up as well. George Sink. So a lot of these are firms that we recognize from the past, from the SEO days, despite SEO still not being correlated with visibility. Morris Bart, of course. Cool. So here are the local champions. These are the guys that are absolutely dominating a local market. The top 2, it's just kind of interesting that the top 2 are in Boise. Litzer, Frost Injury Lawyers, and Hepworth Holzer LLP. Market visibility score is 38.7 to 67.5, but the median visibility score is the way that they're ranked, 36 to 35. The number of markets that they're in, how often they're cited there, the national rank. So just by dominating Boise, they've gotten into the, near the top 50 anyway, 45 and 58 nationally, which is what we're saying just now about dominating your local markets so that you can dominate nationally or get into the national rankings. These are the different weeks just to make sure that we're... So, Bill, can you talk about the rolling average a little bit and why we went to the rolling average?
Yeah, so one of the things that we found from doing a lot of this work is that the AI will return, if you ask it the same question a few times, you'll get different results each time. It's not like, in Google where you're going to get, where we hold this position. It's not how it works. And so we realized that early on, and the margin for error, or like the confidence interval, was pretty wide on each of these numbers. And so once we got enough data in the system, we realized that we could actually start looking at it across a rolling window. So we look at it. So basically we want to make sure that the numbers we have are stable, right? And not just a result of a single week. Oh, it happened to get mentioned in this response, so therefore it's getting counted more than it probably should be. So now we look at it across all 4 weeks, just to give us a much narrower confidence interval. So now the error from the margin of error is much, much narrower. You can see up there underneath VS 4-week rolling average, consistently 404. You can see underneath there, it says 0.28. I can't quite read it, 0.26 to 0.33. That's a very narrow confidence interval. So we know they're in that range. And so there's no chance that they're not there. So it's really narrow. So we narrowed them in. So when someone actually moves up in a position, it's because consistently for 4 weeks they've been scoring higher. And that's what's driving that. So if you move in the index up or down, it's a measured result over a period of time. It's not just an instance.
Yeah, I remember when we first started with the index, there was a lot more movement, and now there's less, but that's because of this, right?
Yeah, that's right. So we've stabilized it and basically accepted the fact that the way that these engines work is not to regurgitate the same answer every time.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah, I think that was a good move. Makes it much more stable and accurate. Litzer Frost Injury Lawyers, while we're here, they're showing up in 2 markets only, despite, and only named in 2 markets, cited in 2 markets, Meridian and Boise. And nationally, they're in the top, I think it was 50 something or something like that. So just by dominating those 2 markets, they're in the top, top 50 or 60. Litzer Frost number 58 nationally. And then it makes total sense, right? Boise and Meridian, same, the other firm there, Hepworth Holter LLP. Their best market is 67.5. And they're also nationally in the top 50 just by dominating Boise and Meridian.
And you can see Lakeland here, they were named once. In one week 30, they were named once, and they haven't been named since. So probably some AI, I don't want to say hallucination, but something. And if they don't get named again next week, that will fall off there.
Well, that's good, because that's in Florida and makes no sense that they're named there anyway, most likely. Yeah. Cool. And that's why we went to the 4-week rolling average to
absolutely
smooth out little things like that. Okay, so these are the top 10 local champions from Litzer Frost all the way down to Abbey, Weitzenberg, Warren, and Emory, and Santa Rosa, California. Let's see. The biggest moves in the rolling index, we had, again, we don't have as big of moves because of the 4-week rolling average, but we have Buhoff Law, PA, moved up 8 spots, Roden Law, Brandon Broderick, David Hood, Rosenthal Levy, and these are the biggest fallers. And so Hoopy and Abraham, I've seen them around, and Manji and Associates, I've also seen them around. So the fact that they've fallen, that 4-week rolling average is also important here too, because that means that they've fallen over a course of 4 weeks.
Yeah, and they were probably, and their position was probably held by that pre 4-week rolling. So it's like as that starts to normalize and markets fall off, you're going to see this start to normalize, and people will start to settle out where they belong.
And this is one of those firms that get named more than they're cited. What does that mean to you, Bill?
Again, it means that the engines have knowledge of them already and are talking about them and or talking about something that they said. Something that they know about them. If someone asked the question about, hey, I was rear-ended in Milwaukee and I don't know what to do, what should I be looking at? Then if I were an injured person, that might be something I would ask. And it's coming back with information from Hoopie Abram. And so that's interesting of itself. So again, like, when we get to the point where we're like, hey, I want who is the best personal injury law firm in Milwaukee, we're going to start getting named firms much more readily than we are when we're further down in that conversation, where we're first starting the conversation. How do you even know we need a lawyer? What do we do next? How do we go about this? That's where some of these firms are starting to get mentioned. And that's where you want to be, right? You want to be at the beginning of that conversation, not at the end, when they're ready to, make a move, or maybe they've already talked to somebody.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. It's earlier on in the pre-intake window, like we've been saying, and also validating with the data that we've been collecting with the case estimator tool, which gives a case value estimate, that the more you're at the end of that window, when people are looking for a lawyer, they may have talked to a number of most likely they've talked to a number of attorneys. That's what we're seeing with our data. So the earlier on you go, the better off you are, because nobody's there, or less people are there, less attorneys are there fighting for those clients. It's like Kellen gave the analogy of salmon fishing because he's in Alaska. And he said, at the mouth of the river, they taste much better than at the end of the river, wherever, where they're all like tired out or whatever. It's the end of their journey.
Yeah.
And they've eaten a lot by then. So what the leaderboard misses, this is, even though we've jumped from 4% up to 10%, still within that range that we talked about in the upcoming book, the AI for PI Index book, a mini book that's coming out. Still within that range of, we said it goes from 4 to around 11%. This is the AI visibility gap, we're calling it. The gap between Google authority and AI visibility. So here is this week, 10% of a firm's AI visibility comes from its SEO domain strength. So how we measure that is we take the Ahrefs domain rating, which is a very common and trusted tool among the SEO legacy SEO industry. We take the site score and we plot it along against their national visibility score, or their AI trust. And again, if it was correlated, it would be right on this line. As you go up in domain rating, you'd also go up in visibility, and that's not the case. Most of them are clumped down here. So despite having some very high DRs or authority, they have very low visibility, like Pittsburgh Injury Lawyers and SMS and the Lanier firm. Very high DRs, very low visibility in AI. And this is one that we look at every week. Like, this is the story of the index that we publish and we talk about in the book, which, at the first conference, we ran audits for the 80 or 81 firms that were there. And this is the number that popped out at us because we thought that SEO authority would mean AI visibility, and it just didn't. And so we thought, hey, the sample size is pretty small. It's going to kind of correct itself as we scale this. And it hasn't. Every week, it just proves that it's there is no correlation.
Mm-hmm. And I've run correlation analysis on a per market level as well.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah, and it also doesn't. Like there'll be a couple that'll be like Morgan and Morgan there'll be a couple that are close, but there's still a ton of people way below the line. So it's still the same thing on a per market basis. And
wow,
so maybe something we'll add to the actual per market view is that same graph, but for that market.
Now, let me ask you something. I know that, the AI helped you with this analysis, but it still seems pretty low that Morgan & Morgan has a DR of 72, their site does, and their visibility score is 7.4. It still seems like the visibility score is very low. Is that because this line is correlated to this graph, or is that?
Well,
does
they're
that make
above
sense?
the line.
What
They're
I'm
above
asking
the
you?
line. So like they're actually hitting above their weight, right? So their DR is high and their visibility is the highest in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And so from a relative scale, they're above. Like they're actually.
Yeah. So it's relative. It's relative to the market.
Yeah. Like if you were to say
like,
which one of these ones actually correlate to their SEO ranking, it's going to be Morgan and Morgan. It's probably Morgan and Morgan and a few of these stragglers down here. Maybe Ben Crump. Like they're tracking it, but they're not, like, they're still under it, right? You'd expect it to be above. So there's other things at play. It's really kind of the message we've realized is that there's just a lot of other things that have nothing to do with, where you sit in Google or SEO.
Right.
So yeah. So to answer your question, I guess it's 7.4% visibility across the nation. So across all, 70,000 responses, Morgan's capturing like 7.5% of those, which is huge. Like that's a massive amount when you think about the size of the messaging. So, but yeah, we can run this on a market by market basis.
I absolutely love that you did it on a market by market, because that's the first thing that came to mind is like, that's great. This is visible on the national level. Maybe there's a correlation on the market by market level, but there isn't.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I've run that analysis. I'll run the regressions trying to figure out I've actually run several regression tests trying to understand which variables actually do, like a multivariate regression, trying to figure out like what things actually do impact these things. I pulled the content from the sites. I've done all kinds of stuff to try and figure out what's going on. And it's NP complete. Like it's not solvable. All we can do is get optimal, right? That's the thing. Yeah. It's about, we want to get.
We're just mapping the territory as we go, is what we like to say.
We're just mapping it, right? We know and every time we find something, it's just like every failed experiment, right? Every failed experiment teaches you something. It's not that thing, right? So we just keep adding to the things it's not, and once in a while we get a gem. It's like, oh, if you're on this directory listing, it actually helps, but not your profile, but the fact that you're just listed, and so like those kinds of things were interesting to find. So.
It just boggles my mind, because the things that we're doing to improve, like the first cohort of attorneys that we took on for our AI authority protocol, like the first 10 group in our first cohort, we have 100% success rate. Very happy about that, at improving their visibility to 20% or more within the first 90 days. And a lot of the things we do in our AI authority protocol, there's 200 things we do. They all sound very SEO-y, right? Like they're similar to what we used to do. So people think that that means that there's correlation, but there's not. And I guess we'll leave it at that. It always blows my mind. Cool. 3 patterns the rankings don't explain. These are the SEO giants the AI keeps ignoring, like we just talked about. The unexpected AI leaders without SEO clout. And the AI knows them by zip code. So these are your real local champions here that are dominating a specific zip code. Again, if you want to take a closer look at this in your personal injury attorney, happy to walk you through this. We can go to your specific market, see who the players are, see what they're doing, how they're winning, how much they're winning. Because most markets are still up for grabs. I feel like the opportunity is very similar to SEO back in the early 2010s, where it's just an open market in 99.9% of the markets out there.
Agree.
Cool. We'll leave it at that. Bill, any final thoughts here on this week's index update?
No, I mean, I think there's as usual, the mapping continues as we try and figure out all the things that impact this. But I think the biggest thing is that people need to be taking this, need to be looking at this seriously. I think this is a lot of people are using AI engines, whether it's ChatGPT or Google, just through Google AI overviews. They're getting their information through AI, whether they kind of like it or not at some level. And so we need to start paying attention to it more. And that's the thing I see the most out of this data. It just says there's a lot of room to move, and we need to get on it.
Totally agree. I'll end it by saying that, there's a lot of attorneys out there that I speak to that are older, that are going to be looking to retire in the next few years. And they're like, I don't want to learn anything new. This just seems like crazy that I'm going to have to like reinvent myself and learn all this AI stuff. And quite frankly, it's not for them. Like if you have no interest in it, or where personal injury law is going, where law is going, your practice area is going, then fine. Harvest what you have left and fine. This is really for, first of all, it's for the early adopters, for the first movers. mostly, right? Because that tail, that S curve of adoption, we're at the very beginning. So there's a small percentage of people that are jumping on this early, and just like we saw in SEO back in the day, those are the people that are going to dominate for the next decade or so. So if that's you, that's who we want to work with. That's who we want to talk to. All right, Bill, thank you very much. This is another great week at the AI for PI Index.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Podcast.
Talk to you
Thanks.
soon. See you next week.